My name is Connor Mead, and I'm here today at the 2016 Canadian Science Policy Conference. And joining me today is Krista Connell, who's the CEO of the Nova Scotia Health Research Foundation. So Krista, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you.
Glad to be here.
So just to get us started off, why don't you tell us a little bit about the foundation, what makes it unique and what makes it important?
Okay, so the Nova Scotia Health Research Foundation is about 16 years old. We were created in 2000, interestingly the same year as CIHR and the Michael Smith Foundation in BC. So I think it was part of a Canadian move to look at health research in a different way, in a more progressive way. We're not a traditional funding organization. We don't describe ourselves as a research funder. We are a supporter of the research enterprise, and managing and leading the research enterprise is our expertise. We use funding as a tool in order to generate new knowledge and promote knowledge. So a little bit different way to think about ourselves and how we function. We're about to go through some changes. The Nova Scotia government recently announced their intent to create Research Nova Scotia, which will have an expanded mandate looking at all aspects of research, more funding, which is of course always welcome given the current environments, and again, ramping up the kinds of things that we already do and expanding the mandate, consolidating some other organizations that exist all into one, and it's a rather exciting time actually in Nova Scotia.
So how does that fit with the proposed and considered new changes to federal provincial health funding relationships?
Well, I think it's very interesting how in step Nova Scotia has been with the changes federally. So as you know, there's a panel been established by the federal government to look at the way the federal agencies support research. It's led by Dr. Naylor. That's interesting that that's happening at the same time Nova Scotia is looking again at how it supports research. Conversations around that are about breaking down the silos, more coordination, more collaboration, being much more strategic in what we do and how we leverage our investments. So I think it's fantastic that we're having the conversations at the same time, both provincially and federally, and it's really important that happen. Traditionally in Canada, the research ecosystem has not been fully appreciated. There hasn't been a systems view to understanding how it all works. So the federal agencies tended to look at themselves as the research enterprise. When you consider the universities are located in the provinces, and provinces are all supporting various aspects of the research enterprise through competitive programs, funding students, funding research chairs, etc. Yet when changes that happen nationally, we're not considering the ecosystem provincially, it throws chaos into the system. So the fact that we're all talking about it at the same time now, I think will go a long way to having a systems approach to the research enterprise, and the fact that Nova Scotia is looking to put all aspects of research under one umbrella is a similar kind of conversation that's happening nationally. Whether that's a structure nationally or not remains to be seen, but nevertheless the philosophy is there. And so that systems thinking is starting to come into play, and to me that's very exciting, because it's going to launch us competitively internationally, which is ultimately what we want to do, have the country really performing at its potential on that international scene. And there's all the different elements of the system need to contribute to that in order for it to happen.
Absolutely. So what do you find are some of the core challenges in the health research ecosystem, and how does this new approach address them?
Well, clearly we're all struggling with funding. So that is an absolute issue, and our government is looking at increasing funding, so that's a good thing. But the funding at the national level is problematic, and certainly that's part of the dialogue. But funding alone isn't going to change it, so it's using those investments a little bit more wisely. And one of the areas that I've been really encouraging the panel to look at, and every chance I get to talk about it, is governance and leadership at the federal, national level agencies. Modernizing the way governance occurs for those agencies, having them reflective of the people they serve, and not just who they serve, but all the different players in the system, so that there's a little bit of a representational aspect of governance so that the conversations can happen, so that when policies are being created or opportunities are being discussed at that level, the different perspectives are right there at the table to say, hey, there's a piece you missed, or able to contribute to move it forward. So that's a huge opportunity, I think, right now, is to look at the governance and leverage all of the expertise and the perspectives of the various participants. That doesn't happen now, but I think we're on the verge of it.
Look, I hope so, and I agree that I think we are.
Yeah.
So in terms of the often, so health research is often underfunded. Do you think that represents an opportunity for us to do a better job of communicating the value and impact of health research?
I absolutely think it's a requirement for us to communicate the impact. The National Alliance of Provincial Health Research Organizations, which my organization is a member of, actually has a subcommittee looking at impact. And we've taken the CAUSE framework, which is a framework for looking at the impact of research that was designed by the Canadian Academies of Health Sciences, and have expanded that, and all of us have adopted it, and we're actually looking at how can we adapt it and apply it to all aspects of research so that we're speaking the same language when we communicate the impact, and we're figuring out better ways to measure it. And even what's more important is what measures are relevant to the policymakers who have to make those funding decisions. And that's a lot harder than it sounds, but we're making great strides. And the conversations at this conference have been around some of that. I was part of a panel this morning from the provincial funders, and people were very excited about the fact that we not only want to participate, but that we're really ready, and we see real opportunities to participate in those national level dialogues that are so important. And I thought that was really great. Just the level of energy in the room was exciting. And this is the first time provincial organizations really have been at this conference, and in the way we are, and many of us are on 2 panels or more. And that is exciting. So, there's a real change. There's a real change going on in the country that can only help us. And all of that is going to translate into increased funding, I think.
That sounds fantastic. So my last question before we wrap up, for our viewers at home, where can we go on the internet to learn more about the Nova Scotia Health Research Foundation and the great work you guys are doing?
So we have a website. It's www.nshrf.ca. So go and have a look there. And also there's a link on our website to the NAFRO website, which will take you to all of the other provincial organizations. And or just give us a call. Contact information is there. We answer our own phones. We're a small but mighty organization, so give us a call. We'd love to chat.
Fantastic. Well, Krista, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting.
Thank you.